Okay, everybody, thanks for coming. We're going to call to order today. Time is 2:01. Okay, we're calling to order the meeting of the Traffic Committee today on this, what is the date today, everybody? It is May 20th, 2025. And roll call. PD,
Nathan McKinnon, Traffic Division from the PD, present.
Fire,
Casey Wilson, Interim Fire Chief.
Planning,
Johnny Land, Interim Deputy Development Services Director, Planning.
Public Works,
Juan Olmos, Deputy Director, Public Works.
and Engineering would be myself, Daryl Jordan, the City Engineer. Okay,
Members of the audience who wish to address the Traffic Committee are asked to submit a request to speak form located at the podium at the back of the council chamber and submit it to the clerk, ideally before the item is called. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and your city of residence. If you intend on using technology for your presentation, please leave a copy for the record. Avoid repeating what previous speakers have said, and if 2 or more individuals are present as a group and wish to speak on one side of an issue, please select a single spokesperson to present your views.
members of the public who wish to speak on any matter not listed on the agenda may speak during this portion of the meeting and will be allotted 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and your city of residence. The committee will not take action on any item that is brought to their attention at this meeting. If it requires action, it will be referred to a staff or listed on the next Traffic Committee agenda. Olivia, do we have any request to speak forms?
Chair, the engineering's office received an email from Jennifer Andrade for agenda item F22. And then we also received a public comment from Angie Archer and finally from Kurt Thomas.
Okay, anybody wishing to speak on items that aren't listed today?
No.
Thank you. Okay, if consent calendar, anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar today?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those against? Motion carries unanimously.
At this time, it is appropriate for any committee member to give any informational report of any work completed, training, or other item to share with other members. Please be brief and no action may be taken on these items.
Any reports?
I would like to report that the general plan update is happening now. We've just signed and had our first, we signed a contract with our consultant, Mintier Harnish, and had our first kickoff meeting last week with staff. And if a general plan is basically a blueprint for how the community is looking at growing, and we really want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to speak into that because you are the ones that live here. And so there'll be opportunities for engagement. We'll be looking at a lot of different facets to the community, public safety, land use, urban design, hazard mitigation, and that kind of thing. So stay tuned. It's about a two-year to 3-year process, but we just started that last week.
Any other members have a report?
No.
Okay, Olivia.
Agenda item F1, continued request 24-44, requesting painted bike lanes and a 4-way stop sign at the intersection of 15th Street and D Street and before the South 99 ramp along 16th Street. Citizen is concerned about the bicyclist and vehicle traffic traveling on both 15th Street and D Street and 16th Street towards the South 99 on-ramp. Citizen explained that he has witnessed several near misses of pedestrian and vehicle accidents. Adding a 4-way stop at these intersections and painted bike lanes could improve bicyclist and pedestrian safety.
Do you have anybody to speak on this matter today, Olivia?
No.
Okay, any comments by committee?
Yes. I have the traffic data from collisions at intersections of East 15th and D Street and East 16th and D Street. I do this in a group of years, even though they don't warrant past years to be evaluated, just to show a statistical trend for it. At East 15th and D, in 2024, we had one injury collision, and there have been no other reported collisions for documentation since 2019 at that intersection. East 16th and D Street, which is also where they're traveling to get to Yosemite Parkway and onto Highway 99. There have been no collisions in 2025. There was one injury and one non-injury in 2024. In 2023, there were 2 injuries and 2 hit and runs for a total of 4. 2022, there was 1 injury, 1 hit and run for 2. And in 2021, there were 4 hit and runs at that intersection. Although warrants only allow us to look back over the previous 1-year period, we didn't meet the requirements for warrants to convert that to a stop sign at this time.
Thank you. Any other comments, the committee?
Planning staff looked at this in relation to our local road safety plan. The portion of this request that 140 to where it intersects with 99 is part of the local road safety plan project area. It's listed as and I believe it's because it's on 140, and that is part of the area to be considered for opportunities for change. But this specific area itself did not have a project assigned to it, whereas certain specific areas on these roadways where there's a high importance of being able to mitigate the issues are related to what Nate is talking about, which is the data. And so the data didn't rise to the level of putting this as a project for our local roadway safety plan. But the other issue here is that I believe, and City Engineer Jordan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a big portion of this is Caltrans related. So I don't know how much of that part we could actually address.
Thank you. Did you also look at the high-speed rail location of this project?
I did, yes, that is correct. The portion of the request that relates to D and 15th Street, the northern portion above 15th as it comes to the Highway 99 is part of the highway rail, the high-speed rail viaduct as it lifts up over the freeway at 99 and comes to, I would say rest, but comes onto a viaduct that will end up at the station over at R and O. And so, yes, this area where this proposed stop sign would be is going to, at some point in the next several years, be part of the high-speed rail viaduct, Merced to Madera line segment.
I think we can make this comment to the High-Speed Rail Authority too, that this is an area that we'd like them to look at as they're looking at their transition into the community and incorporate any safety measures when they do that.
Yeah, we can mention that to them, not knowing what will be left here, but absolutely, if they continue to have a roadway here to connect whatever is left, we can of course have them address that.
Well, engineering concurs with your issues with Caltrans right-of-way. Of course, we have no authority within the Caltrans right-of-way to do any type of improvement, striping, and/or stop signage. So we have to give that information to Caltrans and have them weigh in on that. We also looked at the D Street and 15th Street request for a stop sign. There are 3 stop signs there now. And actually, it's more of a T intersection than it is a 4-way. D Street actually goes into a parking lot there. So it's a little deceiving on that diagram there. It is strange that 3 of the 4 have stop signs and the 4th one doesn't. So we discussed it in engineering. We don't really think a warrant in this situation, since 3 of the 4 is already put together, needs to be reviewed. And that if Public Works is okay with that, we'd be agreed to go ahead and add that 4th sign there on the 15th and D Street to make it a complete 4 stop sign intersection.
Even though it doesn't meet the warrants?
It doesn't meet the warrants, but the configuration of a 3 out of 4 is a confusing configuration for the public. If anything, our analysis would allow 15th Street not to have stop signs and D Street to have 2 of the stop signs as a pass-through. But since this is, I'm not sure why the 3rd stop sign was placed there years ago, but go ahead and weigh in on any issues you guys might have. PD?
In past committees that I sat in on, and even prior to me sitting on them, reviewing them, they did not have a stop sign for southbound on D Street because of the proximity to the rail lines, is why they didn't. And that's what we've utilized in our past decision-making. Ultimately, that would be an engineering to review and decide if on distance for that aspect of it as opposed to us, but that's the information we've acted on in the past.
Okay, and your report earlier stated there was only 1 incident at that intersection.
Correct.
Okay. With that information, Juan, and what staff was looking at, since there's only been 1 incident, then we would be okay to leave that the way it is now. We just thought that was a strange configuration, but now that I've been given the information of why it was orchestrated that way, I think we're okay with that now.
Without meeting the warrants, I will not support that, making it a 3-way stop, without
Okay.
the warrant. I think that could potentially open the city to liability
Okay,
on that side. But
okay, yeah, I would figure we'd have more incidents there from what I was told, but apparently we don't. We just have 1, so it isn't meeting that criteria, so. I think we agree as a committee that we'll just leave it the way it is now and forward information to the high-speed rail for further consideration of safety measures within their corridor.
So I think that we need to make a motion to deny the request. I guess we can open it up to comments.
We can open it up. You'll have to come up to the podium here and speak.
Yes.
Hi, thanks so much, for seeing me again. I've spoken a couple times on this, so I didn't feel
Yep.
the need to again, but multiple injuries each year doesn't warrant any action. On the 16th and where it's southbound 99, 16th and turns into Glen, basically.
It does not meet the state warrants, no, you were correct.
Is that not astounding? I mean, you said multiple hit and runs in multiple years. That doesn't, like even a crosswalk or something, that doesn't rise to the level of putting a crosswalk or bike lanes, if not a stop sign.
So here's one of the things that we look at when we are looking at crosswalks. If you don't have it controlled by an intersection, a crosswalk is a false sense of security. It makes someone feel that they can cross safely there when there's nothing other than, in reality, 2 painted lines on the road that aren't gonna stop a vehicle. So we typically are opposed to crosswalks at areas where they're not at a controlled intersection, where it's controlled by a stop sign. For instance, I know you're asking for a stop sign at that intersection, but the way the warrants are, it has to be in a 12-month period, a certain number of collisions, and we can only go back for the previous year. The year that we had 4 was 5 years ago. So in 2023, 2 years ago, we had total of 4 collisions there. But unfortunately, this came up later than it allows us to go back for the warrants, which are governed by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, was what we fall within their warrants and their guidelines to make these decisions.
If there had been 4 last year, then there would be,
It would be a potential of being able to put a stop sign, but that's just one of the warrants that we look at. There's other warrants that we look at with it, but that is one. If it doesn't meet that then it's kind of like a progression. Once you meet this, then you can look at these other tiers of it.
This is a statewide regulation, this is a Merced
This is a
regulation.
federal regulation.
So 4 people have to be hit in the previous 12 months. to do anything.
Unfortunately, without an engineering design of it, and that this being, as they've explained, this being partially a Caltrans, we don't have the authority to go in and do an engineering revamp of this without Caltrans being on board, without working with Caltrans.
So how does that happen?
Excuse me?
So how does that happen?
We contact Caltrans about what your comment is, and it falls within their traffic committee, or whatever committees they have.
Is this gonna happen? Can this happen?
We can send that, we can forward that to them, but I can't tell you that they're gonna respond. But best we can do is inform them of the information that you provided and that there are concerns out there.
Okay, just to be clear, you don't care that 4 people got hit just outside of the 12 months?
It's not about carrying, but I
Yeah.
understand.
Okay, so you will submit that to Caltrans, and then how can I follow up on that?
You can contact me because I will reach out to their bicycle advisory committee and find out the process for that. So you could work through our clerk and do that. Because that, I had mentioned to our city engineer that this was something more that their bicycle group would be able to address because it is a Caltrans right away. So our hands are tied in certain ways from being able to improve it.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna get your email address, is that what's happening? Great, thanks.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on this file?
I don't think we did.
I would make a motion to deny the request as it sits, and then submit the request through the high-speed rail and through Caltrans for their evaluation.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous.
Agenda item F2, request 2450, requesting a 4-way stop at the intersection of 18th Street and O Street. Citizen shares how there have been several accidents at this intersection in the past, and it continues to be dangerous due to near-miss vehicle accidents that happen almost daily. Drivers tend to exceed the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit. By adding additional stop signs and making this a 4-way stop, it could promote safety for all citizens in the area. No request to speak forms on this item.
Okay. Any comments by the committee today on this request for a 4-way?
I have the traffic data for the same time frame.
Okay,
And for that intersection, there have been 0 reported collisions in 2025. There was 1 in 2024, which is an injury. There were no reported collisions in 2023, 1 non-injury in 2022, 1 injury in 2021, 0 collisions in 2020. In 2019, there were 4, 1 injury, 3 non-injury. And back to 2018, there was 3, 1 injury, 2 non-injury. So based on that information, it did not meet the warrants for the addition of a stop sign at that location.
any other comments by committee members?
Well, obviously with Amir and the warrants, I will not support, moving forward with it.
Any comments by the public would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the request as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Agenda item F3, request 2502, requesting a 4-way stop or speed bumps at Vernal Court and East Donna Drive. Citizens share speeding concerns at this location, sharing that drivers treat Donna Drive much like a drag strip between Jorg Drive and Paulson Road during non-school hours. No request to speak forms on this item.
Okay, another stop sign request.
I was able to pull the data from this because it's a court on one side and Vernal Drive on the other side. And there was multiple versions that I had to pull, but it's compiled altogether. In 2025, there were no reported collisions. 0 in 2024, 2023 had 0, 2022 had 0. In 2021, there were 2 reported collisions, 1 injury, 1 non-injury. 0 in 2020, 0 in 2019, and 1 injury in 2018. Based on that, there was not enough warrants to justify a stop sign at that intersection.
Thank you. Any other comments by committee members?
Has this intersection or this area had any kind of a, I mean, because I'm noticing that they're talking about it being like a drag strip, so people speeding. Have we had any signage up here and done any kind of testing of the speed of this area?
I have not had any recorded data from that area as we've been using it in other areas. During the Yosemite construction project, we have had a message board trailer out there. During that time, it does record some data. I can try and pull that data off. But it was set up near the front of the school per se, on that aspect, just to try and mitigate the traffic in front of the school during that time.
We do have a citywide traffic study going on now, which will reveal some of these speeds throughout town once it's completed.
Okay. I was wondering if that's maybe something that we could look at, you know, get a little bit more information on the speeds there, just for sort of educated decision.
So there is they're redoing the speed study for the whole entire city. It's tentatively scheduled to be done somewhere near August. And they're reevaluating the speed limits for majority of the city streets. So that would be encompassed within that. And we would be using an outside company there's an outside company that was hired to get those speeds where they're not utilizing our equipment. And so we have access to that once they get closer to being completed.
There was also a request for speed bumps here. Any comments on that? I know typically fire has some questions on speed bumps versus speed humps.
As long as they're designed, that our apparatus can straddle the speed bumps without slowing us down, we don't have any issues with them.
Okay. In the past, I believe, Juan, it was about 12 years ago, we had one request for a speed bump, and the city requires the neighborhood to pay for those.
Yes.
And I did have one neighborhood all agree to it and one neighborhood pay for those. So it's usually, once that issue comes up, usually these aren't pursued much further, in my experience. How about yours?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we do have the traffic calming guidelines, and that is part of the requirements, that the neighborhood will have to bear the cost of
Okay.
that. So without the warrants, again, don't support stop.
Okay. So, any other comments? Anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item F4, request 25-03, requesting a stop sign at Park Avenue and Park Place. Citizen is requesting a stop sign at Park Place and Park Avenue to assist in both the speeding issue at this location and to promote safety due to many drivers who simply turn onto Park Avenue from Park Place. No speakers on this item.
Thank you, Olivia. Any comments from the committee? PD?
I pulled the traffic data from that intersection for collisions. In 2025, we had 1 non-injury collision. In 2024, there was 0. 2023, there was 1 hit and run. 0 in 2022, 0 in 2021, 0 in 2020. 2019 had 1 non-injury collision, and in 2018, there were 2 hit and run collisions. Based on that information, that did not meet the warrants for that intersection for a stop sign.
Thank you. Any other comments by the committee?
On this request and the previous one, I see that, they, obviously there's an issue with speeding or something, and then they think that, using a stop sign will help with that. One of the things is with stops is if it doesn't meet the warrants, is not to be used as a, to control the speed. Again, not meeting the warrants, I will not support an installation there. And just for, general knowledge, we're gonna use stops just to control the speed.
Okay. Anyone from the public want to speak on this intersection or this matter? Seeing none, I bring it back to the committee. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to deny the stop sign request.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item F5, request 2505, requesting a partial removal of red painted curb at 1402 East 21st Street. Citizen mentions that the middle section of red paint along the curb at 1402 East 21st Street should be removed due to miscommunication. Please see the attached photos for reference. This portion of red paint is not only not needed, but also takes away from parking spaces that residents can use. No speakers for this item.
Thank you, Olivia. Any comments from the committee on this one?
This request actually came in from the fire department. Back in 2023, our staff was having trouble getting back into the station as there's, more traffic, more parking in the streets, and our apparatus have gotten bigger. So they were having trouble getting parked, so they requested red curb. When they came out and did it, there was some type of miscommunication, and we ended up with too large of a red curb section. It really prohibited the parking of the neighbors. So basically, our folks requested this to help our neighbors out next to the fire station. Essentially, we'd like to remove a section of the red curb, not the curb itself, but the red paint on the curb from the walkway of their home back to the next driveway. So it'd be their walkway to the west.
Okay.
So
Juan,
I support
any
this
comments?
request.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we have no issue. I think if once the motion is made, we can get we don't have to get it today, obviously, by the time the work request comes to Public Works, if we can have a clear, footage, starting at this point, that way there is no issues. I did look up on this one when it was submitted. At the time, there was no measurements, obviously, on the request. Maybe with the work request, maybe there, I didn't look up for that, but that way we can get it to fit the needs of the fire department and give room to the neighbors.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Comment? Anybody from the public like to weigh in on this one? All right, seeing none, bring it back. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve this request.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Agenda item F6, request 2506, requesting a handicap parking space in front of home at 2980 Masterson Lane. Citizen states that she is a handicapped individual who utilizes the parking space in front of her house as it is the quickest route for her to carry her items into her home. She spoke with her neighbor and explained her need for the parking space. However, it seems to still be used for other neighbors' vehicles. There are 18 marked parking spaces for residents to use aside from the one in front of the citizen's home. We do have one speaker. It's going to be Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Hi. You can show the first picture. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I live at 2980 Masterson Lane. Okay, that's good. I live at 2980 Masterson Lane, and my neighbors across the street have taken over the parking in front of my house. And so I came in a few times, spoke with Olivia. Olivia referred me to Richard Maddox, and he gave me some ideas about what I can do about it. I want to show, go ahead to the next one. Yeah, so this is what it looks like it's kind of hard to see the vehicles, but all those vehicles around the corner belong to the neighbors across the street and the one to my right. I'm a handicapped individual, was injured in Iraq, my back, and several times when I returned, I was in the Army. And so on March 22nd, I called the police because 2 weeks prior, I told my neighbor that I needed that one parking space right by my front door for carrying in groceries and items that are just challenging to carry. He agreed, and then 2 weeks later, his car was parked right in front of my door. There's plenty of space to park, as you can see. 2 fire trucks could fit there, but he just parked there, and I said, I need that one particular space, and he said he would not move his vehicle. So I said, well, I was going to involve the police. He said, I hope they come. So I was like, okay. I called, and it was the police who referred me to the city of Merced. After speaking with Richard Maddox, one of the engineers here, I realized I'm in an HOA area, so I reached out to HOA, got a nasty email from HOA saying that this is private space, there's nothing the city can do about this, but they wanted me to provide proof that I'm handicapped. So I had to explain to them that I can't get a letter from a doctor. It was the government that gave me this status, and I explained the means by which they gave me the status. And they've not responded back to my emails since then.
Okay.
I think that was is that the sound?
Does
Yeah.
this committee have any questions while we have her at the dais? Is there a driveway to the house?
There is a driveway, but the shortest distance is actually from the front of my house where their cars are parked to the kitchen, which is where the groceries need to get to. I don't park in my garage, which is the solution that HOA explained. And I told them that it wouldn't make sense for me to park in the garage and then tell a neighbor to park their vehicle somewhere else. And neighbors have always parked there, but it's the space right by my door that I would like to have be handicapped.
And the HOA told you that it was a private street?
And I have another picture that shows, well, I thought about this last night and realized that the builders needed permission from the city in order to build, which means they had to abide by the city's rules. And that's why the city came in and painted, a lot of curbs are painted red. So I don't understand why I'm getting so much pushback from HOA, and they're behaving as if there's nothing the city can do about this. But the city has already done something with the handicap parking spaces, which I can't get to, and the 18 spaces for them. The 18 spaces are right in front of this couple that keeps parking by my front door. And I have a picture to show that. So there is something there that is just unjustifiable as far as what they're doing.
Okay, thank you. All right, bring it back to the committee for discussion. Anyone?
So this section is an HOA, and as it sits, we, as the police department, can't enforce any of the parking rules in there. There's no contractual agreement with the HOA and the city for enforcement of the parking regulations.
You're saying it's not a public rights-of-way, it's private?
It is. It's a public, or it's a private roadway. They maintain the roads as a HOA. The city doesn't have any responsibility to their roadways per se.
Okay.
And my understanding is putting a handicap parking space on a roadway is difficult to make it truly ADA accessible. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're governed by both federal and state regulations as far as an accessibility slot. It has to be able to have certain grades and landings for certain types of vehicles. And typically, the street and the curb and gutter do not provide those grades, so it would not be a legal ADA spot, typically on streets. And in this case, we don't even have the jurisdiction if it's a private HOA, which is, you can testify on how we put conditions together before they build their private development, that we give them guidance on streets and what have you, but they take that as a private entity, not as a public enforced entity.
Correct.
So as much as we'd like to help with your accessibility, we have no jurisdiction with the HOA, so we can't force them to do so. I suggest you go ahead and try to pursue that with them further, see if they can accommodate you, but there's nothing the city has jurisdiction to tell them what to do at this point, so. Any other public comments on this matter? Bring it back to the committee.
Will there
Yes,
be
go ahead.
any conditions on that HOA for the width of the street to maybe no parking on the street? I'm not sure. I just
Yeah.
kind of recall that area there is kind of narrow.
Well, if there was a condition or the width was an issue, then of course she wouldn't be able to park there either. So that would, I mean, I can look and we could bring this back, but I don't know if it would address her issue because she would like to park there.
Yeah, I believe any conditions would be back to the fire lane requirements, which is why the opposite side of the street is red curb there, which is why they have the parking down at the end of that subdivision to allow ample parking for those homes. I looked at the street views and the aerials of, and I don't, the exception to enforcement would be the fire code, which we would have to leverage the HOA. But I don't think that helps in this situation. I think it's a matter of convenience, even if it was a public road, so it'd be challenging either way, given a driveway and whatnot, but I don't see that from the fire code perspective, there's no authority to address handicap
Okay.
spaces.
Okay. Any other comments by committee? All right, do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to deny the request based on it not being the city's jurisdiction.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item F7, request 2507, requesting speed bumps to be installed on Masterson Lane, Autry Way, Ritter Lane, Dillon Lane, Bianchi Lane, and Bannon Lane. Citizen shares concern for children's safety due to vehicles traveling at high speeds on all the streets in the Devonwood development. Adding speed bumps could caution drivers to slow down. And we do have Diana to speak again.
Welcome back.
Actually, based on the last motion, since the city has no jurisdiction over Devonwood community, this can be canceled off.
Oh, thank you. I'll bring it back to the committee for direction. Motion?
I would make a motion, so we have to deny based on it not being city jurisdiction.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item F8, request 2508, requesting to restripe approximately 1,000 linear feet of roadway on Kibbe Road. Citizen expresses concern for the safety of all members of the public with oversized trucks, AKA big rigs, parking alongside the entrance of the PG&E location on Childs Avenue. Citizen continues to explain how PG&E has made efforts to mitigate the safety risks of all since 2018, yet the no parking signage and red curbing have not been enforceable by the local police department. Despite additional efforts to keep these areas clear, all fixed objects that PG&E has placed in the roadway have been physically removed or carelessly ran over. Citizen recommends restriping approximately 1,000 linear feet of roadway on Kibbe Road to eliminate the shoulder in front of their property from the corner of East Childs Avenue to the barricade on the north end of their property. Lastly, to support this recommendation, Citizen notes that traffic engineers will notice that the lane can naturally and gradually transition back to the existing striping on the north end of the property, and there may be adequate room to allow for a dedicated lane to turn east on Childs Avenue on the south end of the property. We do have one speaker on this item, Diane Vasquez.
Welcome, Diane.
Thank you. First and foremost, I just wanted to say we're grateful for the partnership that we've had with everyone here at the City of Merced, Officer McKinnon as well. due to the situation that we've had where we've, over the last many years, have tried many different things to remediate this hazard, all of them have been unsuccessful. The last effort that we had was to place the signs up in front of the facility. That was pretty successful, but it's not anything that's really sustainable. So we're bringing this idea to you. This resulted from a meeting where we collaborated with the City of Merced, McLean Trucking across the street, and our PG&E leadership, and I'm just here to advocate for the solution.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back to the committee for discussion.
I have a question, you know?
Yes.
Just looking at the proposed delineation of the striping, and as obviously seeing the issues of the barricades being run over and everything, will PG&E be in favor of covering the cost of doing the work there, or hiring a contractor to do the work, or is that part of the, has that been part of the discussion?
That's a good question. We can have her come back up after our discussion and ask her if they're willing to participate.
Okay.
Any other comments before?
So this has been something, as I've been in traffic for now 5 years, between being in traffic and being a supervisor, this has been an issue over the years with that, especially with the PG and expansion of their building, moving from the tower side and within the city out to one facility. Constantly, there were trucks blocking the view as their work trucks and their personal vehicles were coming out, making it difficult to see around. The roadway is, it's actually a fairly wide roadway, which if it were to be restriped, you basically eliminate any parking on that east side. You just make the lane, ultimately the lane would become the curb to the yellow divider line, and majority of the parking would just be absorbed onto the McLean Pacific side, where they would stage as they go to get into the McLean Pacific facility. They came to traffic committee a few years ago, got the curbs painted red, didn't really solve a lot. Most of their drivers that come through here are transient truckers. When I say that, they are truck drivers that pick up loads all over the country, come here, drop off their load, pick up another load, and go somewhere else in the country. So they're not coming back to the facility. If they do, it might be years from now. So majority of the local drivers that drive in and out of there don't park there. When you start giving tickets, at this point, it's a $43 ticket. And for someone who's only here once, it's a cost of doing business, as opposed to getting hit every week for the same violation and adding up. So this, I sat in that meeting that we had, and this was kind of one of the things we talked about, was trying to maybe realign the street to make it where it's not even a stopping option without them literally blocking the road. So that's kind of just a little bit more of the detail that we came up with this. At the intersection of Childs and Kibbe, about 2 years ago, we had a fatality accident there right in front of McLean Pacific. A couple years prior to that, we had another fatality accident. So there is a lot of traffic in that area. I drive through that area daily. I live out there, so I see the traffic. Doing anything to mitigate for safety out there would be, I think, it would be beneficial to all parties involved to try and mitigate any high-speed crashes, because Childs Avenue is 55 miles an hour, which in reality equates to like 75 miles an hour for most people, unfortunately. So that would be, I would be for looking at this. Maybe it's something we need to get further in talks with PG&E and McLean Pacific and see if we can come up with a joint way to pay for it, so it's not out of any one person's pocket. Unfortunately, I don't know, I'm not the unit that goes out and paints, so I don't know those costs with that, but maybe coming up with an agreement amongst the three to help mitigate the cost for all of the involved.
Okay. Fire, any comments?
I'll just say, generally speaking, I support the request. I have no issues at all with it. I propose we move forward with it pending the conversations about cost and how we come to an agreement on that.
Okay. Planning?
I would agree. My main concern would be costs. So if that can somehow be burdened by all versus just the city, that would be my preference.
My main concern is safety and then cost, and I do agree that that blocks the visual window that we need there for a safe movement through that intersection, which probably was a major contributor to those fatalities, unfortunately, so.
I do have another question, another concern too. So, thinking about it, if we're shifting them over to the right, to the PG&E site, will there be any concerns that maybe they're gonna be double parking on the west side? It's gonna be wide enough now. I mean, how will that be mitigated?
We could look at the striping on that one. We could make a large striped center island. It won't be a hard island, it'll be a painted island. You know, instead of one stripe, it's gonna be a 8-foot, diagonally striped through that intersection to keep people out of there like you see in some areas. We can follow the MUTCD on that, how that works, but
Okay.
we can look at different options.
Okay, what about the taper towards the end of their site? Will the taper, we might have to look at the speed? It's a 50-mile-per-hour road, and just thinking about how we have to,
On which street you talking about?
on the same street, so that you're gonna have to taper them back in,
Yeah,
right?
past the exit points, they taper back to the original striping, yes.
Okay. No concerns on the speed, if it's a 50, or it will have to be reduced to accommodate the merging or shifting?
Well, definitely the current speed study will address that,
Okay.
but that shouldn't be that fast through there if we're doing that.
Okay.
And those trucks usually don't maneuver coming around the corner very fast, whether they want to tip over or not, so, but,
Well, yeah, and I'm saying for the truckers, I was saying for the regular cars.
Yeah.
Trying to shift back into the, north of their site.
I see.
Yeah.
It looks like the shift would probably be, just as looking at it, is about ultimately an 8-foot shift over. Just at a rough estimate, would be about an 8-foot shift as it goes farther down. But as it gets farther down, the road actually narrows to an extent, so there may not be as much taper needed because of the roadway design. It gets narrower as it gets north of the PG&E property.
I think engineering-wise with Rick back there, we could handle the design and have that looked at through both PD and through Public Works, and then most likely go back with PG&E and our other neighbor and see if they'd be able to help in the cost of those improvements. I think that's reasonable. Do you have a motion? Go ahead.
Before we do that, I mean, could we ask the person who was here about,
If she has the ability to
Yes.
speak on that matter, that'd be great.
will PG&E be considering covering the cost for the work, or hiring a contractor to do the work?
We did have this discussion, and we are willing to come to the table to split the cost for this.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public want to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll bring it back to the committee for a motion.
I'll
Good one.
make the motion to support it, and I'm gonna say the contingency, the PG&E will bear the cost of the work.
If half at least of the work, and then we can also talk to the neighbor across the street, both parties.
If you're okay, I would make the motion to move forward with the idea of it, and then having an additional meeting with PG&E and McLean Pacific to discuss, as a city, just to discuss the financial side of it. If we can kind of figure out what's going to be needed, the cost, so we can kind of move forward. So I guess move forward with the project, and with the contingency of an additional meeting for the financial aspect of getting it paid.
Go ahead, Juan. How do you want to memorialize that?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Diana.
Agenda item F9, request 2509, requesting red curbing near Ada Givens Elementary School. Sergeant McKinnon is requesting red curbing in front of 2860 Green Street and 2875 Green Street, or no parking from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. And we do have one speaker on this request, Juliana Stocking.
Good afternoon, Juliana Stocking, Superintendent of Merced City Schools. I am here in support of F9 through F21, but I'll save you and me some time here. I wanted to start by thanking our partnership with Sergeant McKinnon and your all willingness to do the evaluation assessment. This started September 3rd and went through November, in which Sergeant McKinnon did a parking lot and school zone evaluation with each of our school leadership as well as our facilities director. Upon December 10th, we all sat down and received a debrief of the evaluation. This started with our campaign of Safe from the Start for Merced City Schools and really our partnership and collaboration to prioritize not only school safety within the school, but also the exterior of the school, where we have a lot of traffic on our entrance and egress. So I would like to commend the partnership and collaboration, and then as a result, results from that evaluation. So we are here to strongly support F9 through F21, most of which require curb painting updates that already exist or some transitions of. And then some, as you get into each individual, with some added crosswalk lighting for the safety of our students. So again, I would like to thank you and strongly recommend all recommendations in support for F9 through F21. And thank you again for the work of the team.
Thank you, Juliana. Bring it back to the committee for discussion.
So I went out and evaluated this school, and one of the biggest concerns with this school was it directly in front of these two homes, which are just south of the Ada Givens school gates. There are two homes there, cars parked there, and the way the traffic flow works, they come in through their side, through the STEAM Center, come through that gate into the Ada Givens lot, and then come south onto Green Street. When they have cars that park there, it makes that gate very narrow and very difficult to negotiate getting cars and pedestrians safely through that area. By at least minimizing the amount time they can park there, whether we choose to do a red curb in front of those or a green no parking from 7 a.m. to 4. It just helps with the general flow of traffic of getting parents in or out of the school after picking up their kids, and getting parents and kids out of the school on foot during that time frame.
Okay. Good comments from the committee?
So this is in front of some residential, some homes?
Yes, it's in front of two homes. I did speak with them, and they are not opposed. They both have large enough driveways. They don't park any vehicles on the street. They park their vehicles in the driveways. And they were not opposed in either manner for that, as it puts cars up against the gate, and it actually makes it more difficult for them to get out. And in a lot of cases, cars park in front of their driveways, dropping off students, blocking their driveways as it is.
Is it possible for us to get something in writing from the owners to be able to confirm that this change will not negatively affect them?
Yep. I can get them to write in something.
Because if that's the case, then I would be supportive.
I do have comments. I actually have comments and concerns on all of them, as from F9 through F21. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think we had enough time to review all of them, in the short period of time. I'm in favor of making obviously the areas in front of the schools or near the schools safer. But there are more concerns, whether some of these requests, and I'm gonna speak in general on all of them right now, may have ADA accessibility and things of that nature. So I don't know if I can do it, but I would like to request that we table all of them to get proper time to review them and follow up the conversation. Again, in general, I'm not opposed to all of them. It's just the concerns that we have that I would like to do, that we want to do something that we do them all and get compliance from the ADA side of it. Also, the funding side of it. In that discussion, I'm not sure if the school district will be partners also with the cost of it, because, we're talking about ADA ramps, we're talking about rapid flashing beacons at, if I recall, I think I counted maybe 6 locations. And by the time we put everything together, it almost becomes a capital improvement project once you add all of them. So I don't know if we have to go one by one, but my request will be to table them, all of them, to F9 to F21, to the next traffic committee meeting, to have time to review them, at least, and at least that's Public Works feeling about it.
Juan, just FYI, I did speak with the city manager, and he is excited about actually meeting with the school district superintendent about the whole program and maybe turning it into a CIP program, but he'd like to meet with the school district. I agree with you. I'd like to get more eyes on the project. I think we may be in favor of most all of them, if not all of them. But let's go out and look at the geometrics. Let's look at the ADA issues. Let's confirm that the neighbors are all okay with what we're doing. Do we have some consensus here? But any other comments from the committee?
I think that's where I was going, is that, maybe working internally on a program to support, I think that we are all in favor of supporting the schools and making them safer. And we know the effort that Nate and his group has been doing to partner. And so if we could maybe have a debrief and look at what you have come to, the analysis you've come to, and be able to see how that can be accommodated. There might be some low-hanging fruit we can take care of, if it's just paint, but there might be some other things that do, like you say, rise to the level of a capital improvement project. So I think that we might need to take each item separately and make the decision separately, because they're all separate requests for sort of our procedures. I'll defer to our clerk on that. But, I'm not sure what the motion should be. If this is a tabled item, if this is because I know sometimes we've taken stuff off our plate to be able to sort of work internally and then work with the school district. I'm not sure what the motion should be.
I think we are able to bundle them together after speaking with the city manager.
Okay.
Packaging them together with a motion. Any comments from fire?
I did have the opportunity to look at each of these individually, assuming Google Street View was up to date. That's what I was using to look at all the intersections. This one specifically, I do have a question. Nate, is this both sides of Green Street on? Okay,
Yes.
it is. Okay.
Most of it's already red, everything, the closer to the curb's already red, it basically is from those driveways up to their gate.
Up to the gate there. Okay, I saw that. Okay. Operationally, from the fire department perspective, this one actually really helps us, because when we stack cars in there and then we have folks trying to get out of there, then we can't get in the event of emergency. So I support this one from the operational side. I did have the same concerns about the community. I don't want to come back in a couple months and have the citizens complaining about this. So their support, I think, would be beneficial. They do have excessively large driveways here, fortunately, so I can see why they would be not opposed to it. And I imagine that congestion probably is challenging for them when they're trying to get out as well. So I support this one. I'm comfortable either way if we want to move forward with the rest of the items and look at them, or if we want to come back, and
Okay.
Either way is fine with me.
Juan, I'm okay with a motion to bundle these. I'd like to take all these back to the school district. And again, I think we're going to probably support all of them, and if not all of them. But the flashing beacons such are an expensive item that we typically put in our CIP program that you have to list. If it's an SB1 project, whatever, you have to list those items. I'd like to try to capture as much of the projects at one time if possible. So I'm in favor of bundling these together and bringing them back for a single motion. Any other comments?
As I sat in on the meetings, Brian Bean, who's the director of their facilities,
Yep.
he's not here today because of an emergency. He had to attend. I know that some of the discussions of cost did come up, and there was some of it where the school was willing to try and partnership to mitigate some of the costs with some of these, more typically towards like the flashing signals, because those are a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But that was something they were willing to at least look at and see what was something that we could kind of maybe co-work together with.
That's great news. I think we should pursue that. So.
If we can bundle them, I'll like to make a motion to table these items for a further internal discussion between, I guess, Public Works, Engineering, and Police Department with the
Yes.
school district.
And we'll reach out with the school district, if not this week, next week, and set up a date where we can all meet.
Yeah. So that's my motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Who's against? That passes. Thank you.
Okay, so. Agenda item F22, request 25-22, requesting quick build daylighting / curb extensions at the following locations: V Street at West 12th Street, West 11th Street, and West 9th Street, along with West 11th Street at W Drive and W Streets adjacent to Dennis Chavez Park. Citizen shares concerns explaining how despite there being 10 traffic signs and 1 marked pedestrian crosswalk at the intersection of V Street and West 11th Street, motorists fail to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. In addition to that, motorists on West 11th Street continue to launch across V Street, building up speed to X Street and West Avenue. And we have 2 speakers on this request. First one is Angelita Archer.
Great. Welcome back. You too. I can always find you in the audience for some reason. That's it.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, thank you.
So, I want to show you my stop sign, what I use out there.
Yeah?
This is what I do on the crosswalk, okay? They should see this,
Yeah.
but they don't. And then I brought you my air horn, but I'm not gonna blow it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not gonna blow it, I didn't wanna test it today. But that's what I do out there every morning. I brought 2 letters from 2 of the crosswalkers.
Okay.
They couldn't come because they had to work. So if I could read them real quick.
You bet.
This one's from Michelle, she's on West End Heritage. She goes, I am writing as a concerned employee at Gracie Elementary School. I'm a crossing guard to formally request the installation of lighted crosswalks at Heritage Drive and West. Also, 11th of V Street, experiencing high volume of both vehicular and pedestrian traffic, particularly during mornings of 7 and through 7:40 in the morning. Even though we have 25-mile-an-hour blinking lights, school zone, the flashing lights are very dull. We're requesting LED lights for the yellow lights. With these lights, cars seem not to slow down. Excuse me. A lighted crosswalk would significantly enhance visibility and safety for all road users, especially children, seniors, and individuals with mobility challenges. We believe that installing a lighted crosswalk at these locations will help prevent potential accidents and encourage more pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, I can't say that word, in all community. That's from Michelle Nava. And then Heidi, she does 11th V as well as Michelle does. I crosswalk on 11th and V Street. I would like something to be done as soon as possible in regards to crosswalk lights. Traffic there at that time is normally fast. She does it in the afternoon, as there is a highway exit down the road a block away. Traffic does not respect the fact that there are children waiting for them to slow down. I had 2 vehicles nearly hit me and my stop sign, very visible. So please, I ask to speed up for crosswalk lighting for the safety of our students at Gracie Elementary. So nothing's changed. Was hoping they did, but it's just getting worse and worse. This morning I was a witness to these 18-wheelers. It's CVT trucking, and I forgot the other trucking. They're cement truckers. They go so fast they stir up dust as they're passing me and stuff. And I'm just shaking my head. No, what am I gonna do? I can't do nothing about it. So We are definitely in dire need of those
Thank you.
crosswalks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's not as loud as your horn. Anybody else?
Yeah, next we have Caitlin Benson.
All right, Caitlin.
Hello, it's good to see you guys again.
Me too.
So I'm Caitlin Benson. I'm the Special Education Coordinator for Merced City School District, and I was previously the Vice Principal at Gracie Elementary. And so I'm just here to support Miss Angie in this cause because it is a need. And so we have a lot of parents with strollers. We have wardrobe, and then the traffic that comes from that area, and they come really fast down that road and that way. And then we have 99 and people getting off over there. And then we have the people that are coming from, I think, is it 140 McSwain Road, all of that. So there's like 3 different entry points where there are cars that just come flying and then they come down this way. And it's like Gracie is just the center point for all of that. And people just come flying from one destination to the other. And then, so we have the parents with the strollers. We have a lot of infants. We actually have 2 county classrooms there with severely handicapped students. We're gonna put, we have 2 TK classes, and we're gonna put a severe handicap class for TK there. And there are also 3 special needs classes there in addition to the school population that's there. So there is a lot of high need in that school in itself. And so trying to ensure the safety of students, you know, that have behavioral needs, that have special needs, that trying to get the parents or the families or the aides, trying to get them to cross the street to the bus, and having all of that is a huge concern. When her stop sign is being dismissed, when they're out there and, like, you know, Miss Nava almost got ran over today, and Miss Heidi, the same thing, and that this continues to go on. We've gotten the flashing stoplights, we've gotten the air horns, we've had the officers come and be with all of the noon duties that come out and do the crosswalks, and it doesn't seem to matter what we do. They're just not aware, they're not slowing down. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, appreciate your time. Bring it back to the committee for discussion.
So this school was one of the schools that we bundled together above and beyond this one.
Okay.
So some of these items were going to be addressed in our meeting that we're going to have.
Excellent.
One of those was the getting some sort of lighting at the crosswalk at V and 11th, as that is people drive fast down that road. I've been out there. I've met with her multiple times. And it's a big road. You have a lot of businesses and cut through there. So that is one of the items that is on the bundled agenda now.
Okay.
So some of this will be able to be addressed through that portion of it.
I'm sorry, I know it's out, but another thing is when the big rigs park.
You need to come to the,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's being recorded, that's why we need you up there.
One thing I forgot to mention is sometimes the big rigs will park on the side of the streets. And so the kids will be trying to walk home on our street or on V Street, and they'll be trying to walk home, and there's no flashing lights or anything showing that a student is going to cross the street. And so the little kids will step out and try to poke their heads out, and we've actually had students hit because of trying to do that because they can't see around the big rigs. And then oncoming traffic down our street or down V Street doesn't see the kids trying to step out to see if a car is coming or not. So we also have that as a big issue too.
Thank you.
One of the things, if you happen to see big rigs that are parked on the city streets, just if you call into dispatch and give them the location, I have 2 parking enforcement officers, and they love to write that ticket. 2 semi-trucks parked within the city lanes and city roads because they're not allowed to be. It's a $150 citation to encourage the drivers no longer to do that. So please don't hesitate to call in. We have people that will respond to that is their privy, is responding to those kind of calls.
I am a little bit concerned about the flashing beacons in the pavement when her standing in the middle with that flashing sign and they still don't stop. But if you might help, go ahead.
Just so that you guys know, we did put her on our budget for next fiscal year. We have a project to upgrade upgrade all those overhead lights at the schools. So
Excellent.
it is in our budget. It hasn't been approved by, it's not final by council yet.
We're a
but,
month
you know,
away, yeah.
It's in the process. So we want to make them brighter, as you suggested. The other one is BS in Victor and 11th. We did approve it last traffic committee meeting, the rapid flashing beacons there at the crossing. So that is, I guess, on the works. And that's what I want to say that we have on the works, right? Regarding the extensions, I'm not quite sure what do they mean by adding the extensions?
Probably bump outs at the intersections, which would require design and engineering and that whole process of the CIP program. So that's something we can bundle with the rest and talk to the school about maybe participating, what have you, so. Yeah, that is a traffic calming device, but it is rather expensive, so.
So I would make a motion to bundle this with the previous school ones as all-in-one, where we can meet with the school district, figure out what can be funded by them, what can be funded by us, and go from there and sit down with all the people that have, a hand in the game and figure out the best manner. So that would be my suggestion, is we just bundle it with the previous bundle.
I second.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes. Thank you, ladies.
I wanted to note, just for the record, one of the public comments that I mentioned earlier, I said for Jennifer Andrade that it was for F-22, but it's actually for F-17. So just for you guys to know when you guys look over it. Thank you.
F-17. One of the bundled? Okay, so that'll be bundled with the, thank you. Okay. Miss Olivia, thank you for putting this all together. You worked very hard to make this happen, so we all up here appreciate what you do, and thank you for that. And thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you. And even the silent person in the back, thank you for coming today. Let's see, so we'll need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn.
And a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned at 3:13. Thanks, everybody.